President Biden getting some important COVID data, well, not exactly right.
When I got elected, I said in the first 100 days we'd get 100 million people vaccinated. I was wrong. We got 230 million vaccinated.
Let's get to the facts with former Biden campaign surrogate Kevin Walling and host of The Next Revolution, Steve Hilton. Gentlemen, welcome to both of you.
Hi, Shannon.
Hey, Shannon. Good to be with you.
So the AP on this says Biden overstates how many Americans immunized. They say this: altogether, close to 148 million people in the U.S. have gotten at least one dose, and close to 106 million have been fully vaccinated, not 230 million as of Monday. Almost 247 million shots have been given, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Steve, a slip of the tongue?
Well, it's more than that, because we see one of these almost every single time that Biden opens his mouth, and people use the word senile to describe the president. The real meaning of that is not supposed to be an insult. It describes someone of a certain age whose mental capacities are declining, and it's clear that that is the case with the president. It doesn't mean he's not in control, doesn't mean he's not in charge. It's not an insult. It just means that he's constantly making these mistakes every single time he goes out. The serious point, however, is that actually the strategy on vaccinations is getting in the way of what we all need to see, which is the opening up of the country. What he's doing, for example, by flouting his own CDC guidelines on mask wearing, is increasing vaccine hesitancy. It's actually making it less likely that people will get the vaccine. And what it all adds up to, I think, is this sense that Biden, the people around him, the public health authorities, it's like they want some kind of permanent pandemic. They actually love the control they have over our lives. They love spending money to alleviate the consequences of their lockdowns. That's the real point, not the verbal stumbles that I'm afraid we're going to have to get used to, because that's what we have for a president.
Kevin Corke reported a little bit earlier about this mixed messaging, Kevin, and how it can be confusing for people about why he's still wearing a mask outside. He's been vaccinated for quite a bit of time, and he's primarily around other people who are vaccinated. But again, the CDC has said if you're outside, if you're fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. Well, Anita Dunn, who's a senior advisor to the president, said this yesterday. She said, I think the president takes the CDC guidelines very seriously, and he's always taken his role as sending a signal to follow the science very seriously as well. But Kevin, what he's doing with the outside mask wearing after being fully vaccinated doesn't seem to line up with what the CDC is saying.
Yeah, Shannon, it's a good question. I think you're going to see the president start to take that mask off more when he's outside. Obviously, he wears that when he's inside in congested situations. But this president is leading when it comes to this vaccine rollout. As you point out with the AP reporting, over 250 million Americans at least have one shot in their arm. Over 106 million Americans are fully vaccinated. He's got widespread support. 4 in 10 Republicans even support his position when it comes to, and leadership when it comes to COVID-19. 65% of Americans support his job approval when it comes to COVID-19. So this is a president that's leading on this. You know, you compare that to the previous guy who said inject bleach, for example, as opposed to the COVID-19 vaccine. So I think this president, I really don't understand this, kind of right-wing attack on this slip of the tongue with regards to this latest manufactured controversy.
Okay, and we won't revisit the bleach comments right now, because that's a whole nother debate that we could have about that and how they've been mischaracterized. But just again, the AP said 148 million people have gotten at least one dose. 247 million shots have been given. Okay, quickly, I want to get you guys to comment on something we're seeing, sort of some trends in Texas. They had this House special election. No Democrats finished well enough to go into the runoff. It's now 2 Republicans there. Dallas, in a suburb there, has rejected what they called, the opponents called, quote, woke social school curriculum in local elections there. And Austin has voted to bring back the ban on homeless encampments. We also talked about Lubbock now voting itself a sanctuary city for the unborn in a ban on abortion. Quick comments from you both. What does it say to you about how average Americans are feeling about progressive issues, about Democrats, and what it could signal for 2022? Steve?
I think that what it tells me is something that I heard from someone who's really been studying the rise of this woke ideology, which actually, is, as I've documented on my show, is not something new that popped up after the George Floyd protest last year. This has been in the works in academia and elsewhere for about 100 years, the woke ideology. And the point that was made to me was that the moment when people start to fight back is when the woke ideology comes for your children, when it starts being applied in schools, when kids come home from schools and tell their parents, I've been told today that I'm a racist because of my skin color. At that point, the people will rise up against it. That's what we're seeing now. This is a very encouraging sign of that, and I hope we see much more of it all across the country.
Kevin, does it have you nervous at all, that special election with the House seat and these other measures that seem to be saying no to progressive policies?
Yeah, Shannon, we've had this conversation before. I'm a Democrat, so I'm always nervous when it comes to elections. I wouldn't read too much into a 23-person special election field down in Texas. One of the people that got through that election is the widow of that member of Congress, so obviously had that name ID. I think it's still too early, 550 days out, to read anything into the midterms at this point.
Ooh, Kev's keeping the countdown clock for us, because I didn't know that's. We'll check back with you when we need to know exactly how many more days away. All right, it'll be here before we know it. Kevin and Steve. It will. Thank you both very much. Come back soon.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thanks, Shannon.
The internet cracking up over a little baby's surprising voice and this adorable pup, now a viral sensation for some pretty unique skills. Look at how good he is. My doggy would never do that. The day's best viral videos next.